Welcome everybody. Awesome, that was recorded. Fantastic, thanks Shalane. Welcome to our SEL COP. I am Molly Henricks. I am the coordinator of school safety and risk prevention here at the County Office of Ed. I am pretending to be, I was pretending to be Mary McGrath alongside with Bradley Ostrander today, and I'm actually being Mary McGrath and Bradley Ostrander today, and Michelle Holt. I am being all three. So welcome, glad to have you. We do have a sign-in sheet in the chat. If you could please go ahead and sign in. We actually, I know sign-in sheets are annoying, but like this is a sign-in sheet that's very important because we need to make sure that we are accounted for, that we do this, and the state likes that. So please make sure to do so. And I am going to share my screen. All right, so welcome. I was going to pop, actually, you know what? No, I don't like sharing screen on agenda. I was going to pop everybody into breakout rooms, but there's so few of us that I actually think that we could probably spend some time right now. Shalane's giving me a death look. No, you're okay? All right. As far as introductions and all of that, and the welcoming ritual, instead of a breakout room, I'm just going to, we can just do it here. Unless like 1 million people come in the next 5 seconds. But we're going to go over welcoming and introductions. I have some SEL survey results from the SEL implementation survey that I want to go over with you all. And then we're going to discuss what today's theme is, which is our critical practice #1 from the SEL Roadmap. And then spend some time collaborating, and then we'll close out. And we're going to give you a bunch of great upcoming events as well. Just kind of meeting norms, remembering that we're coming as we are. If possible, because we're going to be very interactive, those of you that don't have your camera on, if you could, thank you, put your camera on, we could see you. That'd be fantastic. Take space and make space, and then use the chat to ask questions, engage, but leave your camera on as much as possible. All right, welcoming ritual. Sign in if you have it. And then instead of going into breakout rooms, kind of, you know, we talked a little bit last time about kind of where we wanted this to go and what we wanted to learn. So I would love it if you could introduce yourself, what you do, what your role is, where you work, and what is something that you know, and that's pretty vague, but I think maybe around SEL, but what is something that you know to be true, and what is something that you want to know? And I'm going to go down the list. So it starts with Shannon.
Oh, yay. I love going first. My name is Shannon. I am a school psychologist. I'm working with the MTSS team at Sequoia Union High School District. Something I know is that taking the time to build community and a sense of safety in classrooms will exponentially support learning in ways that I don't know a lot of people see yet. Does that work as a double answer?
Sure.
And how, I guess what I'd like to know is how to help people see that it's worth the time and the outcome will be better than what they expect.
Great, thank you. Antonio.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Antonio Perez, and I'm the Director of Student Services for the Redwood City School District. Something that I do know and experienced is that if you have PBIS implementation, your organization, a school site, it is a very easy transition into social emotional learning implementation. Something that I don't know is why some leaders don't see the value of this approach to student support and adult support. And I wonder how can, pass on these efforts to PBIS implementation in combination with SEL.
Great. Thank you for being here. Evan, with the fabulous background of his house.
I work on Shannon's team. We have the same position at Sequoia Union High School District. One thing I know is how to work in communities that have experienced high trauma, and how using trauma-informed methods and restorative justice can really change the outcomes of schools and communities. And I guess similar along the lines that are similar to what others have said, what I'd like to know is, I do think that a lot of people see the value in it, but I actually want to know how you make that change happen at a school or at schools, and how do you get these things to happen? I've heard a lot of talk about people value this stuff, but it's been really hard to make these things happen. So I'd like to know like the nuts and bolts of like, how do you get these things done in a school that maybe you're not in? Like we have to go into schools that I don't work at. So I want to know how we get it to happen. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Gracie.
How to find my mute button, sorry. So my name is Gracie Huff. I work at San Mateo County Office of Education. I'm the English Learner Support Services Coordinator. And so one thing that I know is around English learners, in particular newcomers. Newcomers need to feel supported through knowing the routines and rituals of classrooms and relationship building, and knowing their survival English to be able to interact in the daily before getting into the academics. I know that. What I would like to know is what are the barriers for teachers in progress monitoring their newcomers' language development as well as integration into classroom?
Wow. I don't know if we can answer that today, but thanks.
But this is why we come, right? So that we can bounce off ideas.
Awesome. Heidi.
Sorry, super late coming in, and didn't really have a lot of chance to reflect on it. But Heidi Dembinski from St. Charles School. I teach character education there to kindergarten through 4th grade once a week. What do I know? I feel like very little. Been teaching for many years and teaching this for this will be my 3rd year. And I feel like there's just always, there's so much information out there. I mean, I feel like a lot of it is the same, but trying to find your way through it and grab the things that are the best and going to work for your students is difficult. So I guess I'm what do I not know? I'm constantly trying to figure out what's going to work best in any day and moment for my students. What do I know is just, I guess every day I come to school, I try to really focus on the love. Again, we're God-centered school. So I'm really trying to focus on children learn best when they are loved and cared for. And so no matter what is going on with their life, if you are attending to that as the basic purpose, they're more willing and comfortable learning from you. So I try to always imbue that.
Thank you. I love it when our private school partners come. So thank you. You're very consistent. I love it. Lana.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lana, she, her pronouns. I am the Health and Wellness Director at San Carlos. It's nice to be with you all. My background is in mental health counseling. And so I know that I've been thinking a lot about dialectical behavioral therapy and how it's like kind of locked in this box where you have to pay trillions of dollars or get referred through all these millions of people to have access to it. And I've been thinking a lot about the need for all students to learn these skills, not just those who are referred to fancy programs. And something that I would like to know, this has been touched on, but it sounds like, and I'm very new in my position, so I'm still trying to figure things out, but it sounds like a big part of my role will be to ensure that teachers are administering the SEL, and how do you ensure that they buy into this, and is part of that perhaps making sure that they have their own resources for this stuff, and recognizing that they're not robots, they don't like exist in a vacuum. So just thinking about how to, when students are taking care of themselves, when staff are taking care of themselves, when parents and caregivers are taking care of themselves, it's like this lovely little cycle. So just thinking about how to sit with that more.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Josie.
Hello, my name is Josie Treves, and I'm a school counselor for 3 different schools in the Brisbane School District. Thank you for having me. And yeah,
Wasn't it just 2 last year?
No, it's always been 3.
Okay.
And they gave me another day, so now I'm 5 days a week. But what I do know, I mean, we all know this is just, building that relationship with the students. There's over 500 students, so I'm trying to get to know everybody's name and just be present in the moment, just be outdoors with them. We have lunch schedules where there's lunches throughout the day. So I try to be outside as much as possible. And it's really nice to have so I work and live. And there's a beautiful hiking area behind me. So I'm always outdoors with students. So I really believe that, being outdoors, they're very comfortable in the setting. They're more apt to bring up or just talk. And movement is just so important, so that really, really works. I really feel like it does. Yeah, as far as like what I don't know, I mean, there is so much out there, and just finding what works with students and what doesn't work is always a challenge. And there's, like I said, there's lots of different resources, and just all this information, just bring it together and really find that importance, that balance.
Great. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to butcher this name because it's a long name, but and I don't even see them, I think. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, sorry. Merle Sabato. It's just one word, so that's why I didn't know where it would
Sorry,
divide.
it's Merle Sabato.
Thank you. Hi.
I'm the parent and community liaison for the Bayshore School District. And I also am the site supervisor for the preschool program. So something that I do know is that social emotional learning starts very young. We have a lot of students that are in the preschool program this year that have a lot of I'm not going to say issues, but they bring in a lot, and I've been trying to work with them to see what's going on, because sometimes they're at one day they're good, and then the next day they just pop off and just start hitting and throwing things. So that's one thing I know. One thing I want to know is how to work with those students so that they can progress throughout the years from preschool, and then I can work with the kindergarten teacher and just see if they will progress and eventually come out of that if we work with the student and provide the resources that they need. Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And Julie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Joback. I'm a school counselor in San Carlos. I work at 2 schools. I used to work at 1. I really want to work at just 1. Something that I know, and this has nothing to do with SEL, but my mind was blown. When you burn yourself in the kitchen by accident, and we all go for the ice cube or the cold water, if you put it in flour So like, let's say it's your finger or your elbow in flour and are able to keep it there for a good amount of time, it does wondrous things way better than cold water or ice. And what I do is I keep a bag of it in the freezer that has the word burn on it, so no one uses it. And so it's even more refreshing when it's cold and you put your burnt little finger or elbow or whatever, toe or whatever got burnt in it. And it really does work. It's amazing. And
how often do you burn yourself?
you know what? A lot. And I don't know why. I mean, during shelter in place, I was cooking up a storm. So I guess it equates to how much I'm in the kitchen. But yeah, I think I'm in la la land when I'm cooking and not very present. Sorry to admit that here, but but it really is amazing. And what I want to know, and I say this honestly, is how do I get my district and every district to get full-time counselors in every school? This job is killing me. Like right now I have to leave because they need me to go take care of a kid. So I don't even get to do all these fun things that I got to do before. So I'm having a pity party right now, so bear with me. But in all seriousness, we used to have a counselor at every school. How do we get back there? Like, what is the deal? Who has the money? How do we make it happen? I don't know the answers, and I really don't want to be at that level either, but everyone's talking about mental health support, everyone. And yet in San Carlos, there's a counselor, one counselor has 2 schools. All 4 of us have 2 schools, and I'm not doing the amazing job I could do if I was just at one school. So if anyone has answers or a model that I can share with my district, who I know does believe in mental health, but it just isn't showing up in the actions right now, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you for listening. And I hope to come back. So I'm just going to turn my video off and hopefully come back. But thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck. Oof, rough. All right. I saw Tracy come in. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Tracy Bonaduce. I'm the school psychologist for the county special ed programming. What I know, what I want to know, is that what
you know and what you want to know? Yeah.
Okay. What I know is that even students who have moderate to severe disabilities and limited language need social emotional support as well, and that the behaviors aren't always as simple as you have to think about it behaviorally, but also with an SEL focus. But what I want to know that we're constantly working on here, and one of my personal big goals this year is to really implement programming that I can successfully tailor to our students, because every time we implement something new, there's big adaptations that we have to do and modifications to the programming. So that's sort of a big goal this year, to take something that's existing and is evidence-based, but that I can tailor to our students. And I have to go at 2:45, but so I can sympathize a little bit with Julie. I finally made it to the first meeting. The first 2 I couldn't come. But I've
seen you twice in 1 week though. That's pretty good.
I know.
Right?
I even saw you in person. That was exciting.
Fantastic.
So, but thank you for having me here, and I'm excited.
Thank you to be part of the group. And we will continue to work together on how to get SEL to those kiddos over there. Maria.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Pardon my tardiness. I thought I would have to leave early. Turns out I had to come late, one or the other. I am the wellness counselor at South San Francisco High School. And the prompt is, what do you know and what do you want to know? That's still so broad. So I'm like, what do I
Yeah.
know? It could be nothing. And what do I want to know is like everything. No, but I do feel like I know young people and teenagers are going through it in a really specific and unique way. And what do I want to know is how to reach more when there's only so much resource. So that's where I'm at today.
All right, well, thank you. Did I miss anybody? I went down the list. I feel like I got everybody. All right. I am going to share my screen now. Michelle is going to do a mindful moment with us. And I know that people have really appreciated mindful moments, but I also know that people need to leave. And I want to know if we want to do a mindful moment or if we want to get to kind of the meat of what we're doing. But also, I mean, a mindful moment is SEL. That's getting into connection with yourself and understanding where you're at. So I could take you through one. Thumbs up, yay, nay, thumbs down, reactions, sideways, thumbs up, sideways. Okay, we'll do it. I'll go fast. I'm not a very mindful person anyways, so this is not my strong suit. I am new to mindfulness. Michelle is helping tremendously. But I'm going to pull it back to something I do know really well, which is CRIM, which is the Community Resiliency Model. And if you don't know about CRIM, ask me, because I think it's amazing. So I invite you to get comfy wherever you're at, if you can, as much as possible. And feel free to shut your camera off right now. Some people are very self-conscious about doing mindfulness with their camera on. So, think of a place or a space that brings you joy. A place or a space that brings you joy, that you like, that you've been to, maybe that you want to go to, or that's completely made up in your head. And I want you to picture what that place or space looks like in your mind. Notice if it's daytime or if it's nighttime. Look around you and describe, using words in your own head, what you're seeing. What do you notice? What type of noises do you hear? Are they loud noises? Are they soft noises? Is it absolutely silent where your place is? What about smell? And if you want to, if you feel safe enough, feel free to take a deep breath in through your nose to really get what that smell is of that place or space. Picturing yourself there, in that space, in that place, breathing in the air around you. Is there a taste associated with that? What does it taste like? So lastly, I want you to look around and listen to the sounds. Take a breath in and smell. Breathe out. Take another breath in through your mouth and taste what your space tastes like. And then notice the sensations inside your body and what you're experiencing while you stand in this place. How does this place or space get sensed inside of you? When you're ready, You can feel free to come back, take a deep breath if you want, open your eyes, turn your camera back on, join us. And as we come back, we have some new people that joined us, so welcome. We've just really done introductions, some get to know you stuff, and a mindful moment. But I would like, in the kind of respecting the community resiliency model and what that just was, which was basically resourcing, I would invite you to drop in if you want to share what your place was into the chat. Or if you're brave enough, unmute. If anybody wants to share what their place was. My dad's yard at night, the stars are amazing. Yeah, country living. Whew, I bet. The beach. Driving up PCH by the, you're from Southern California, aren't you, Evan? Are you?
Sorry, I was unmuting. Yeah, that's my, when I drive back down from up here, it's always what I like. Take
Nobody calls it
101.
PCH up here. That's why. Awesome. Forest, redwoods. It's great. Green hills of Switzerland. Wow, way to go overseas. Sweet. Awesome, thank you. Mine was Mendocino. I've fallen in love with the place, the stars at night. All right, thank you very much. It also has a lot to do with COVID. Oh, that was up above, sorry. I'm reading the chat. All right, I'm gonna share my screen again. Thanks, guys, that was good. It calmed me down a little bit. So at least hopefully it got everybody a little bit more focused and centered. That's obviously something you can take away. We can do with kids. There's a lot more to that though. So if you want the community resiliency model, please ask, because sometimes things like that can also bring about trauma. So we want to make sure to be conscious of that. I wanted to share with you all, did anybody get and receive the SEL implementation survey that was sent out, and did any of you reply or fill it out? No, okay. It was sent out to districts, district-wide, all 24. And one of the reasons was because of the MHSSA grant that I oversee, but we also decided to send it out to everybody just to try to get some comparison. And one of the things, so there was a ton of questions that we asked. Some of these graphs are not so great looking because I snipped them from the PDF. So we're trying to get a report together that will make it look a little bit better, and that we can explain things in a kind of more comprehensive way. But if you notice, so these are the people that took it. We had a nice variety of different types of educators, from specialists to different grade level teachers, to administrators and support staff. So just wanted to show that it was really taken by a lot of different people. This was a question that we asked principals. So there was a section for teachers and everybody to fill out, or anybody to fill out. And then there was a few last questions specifically for principals. And we asked them to rate the level of commitment that they had to implementing social and emotional learning approaches in your school. One of the reasons why we did this is because we wanted to know what the roadblocks were, right? What are the barriers to implementing SEL curriculum? And is commitment from a leadership level one of those barriers? So we were surprised that everybody feels like, or reported that they're committed. And then, you know, we also asked about the community resiliency model as well in the schools, as far as who's committed in implementing that. And again, surprised. I think those that didn't know about it might not have answered this. Obviously, the level of commitment varied from depending on what your role was. But we asked some questions about what people think about SEL. And I apologize, the graph's a little wonky, especially the colors down below, but they go in order. So I think that helps. So the social and emotional learning approach in this school is effective at developing students' coping skills. So again, either a large percentage of agree or neutral, which the neutral, like if you're looking at the purple, that's the neither agree nor disagree. So wanting to move that towards green, towards blue. Social emotional learning approach in this school has a positive impact on the way teachers interact with students. Again, a large percentage of neither agree nor disagree, and wanting to move that further along with seeing the results of the community resiliency model. I think one of the things that we haven't really been able to do is get it to the students directly. And we're really hoping that we are able to do that. We also asked about how approaches have helped address student disruptions. And again, a large percentage, 50%, with neither agree nor disagree. But agree and strongly agree, we're getting up there about almost 40. So that's promising. If we can move that a little bit further up, that would be great. And I believe that social emotional competence supports students' mental health. So strongly agree. That's great. Strongly agree that it supports it. We're still seeing a lot of our schools not implementing SEL and not being able to get that launched. I wanted to kind of just stop for a second, ask and show you some of the other different graphs that came up in the survey, so you guys can see it. I'm going to skip through the part that's particular on and specific about the MHSSA grant and really ask more about motivation. And I'm going to share my screen and you guys can take a look at it, and then feel free to ask me questions or make comments about what you're noticing. So this was an interesting graph. Look at kind of multiple questions that were asked. Please mark how you disagree or agree with the statement. And so there we go. So my school leaders expect me to regularly implement our SEL learning program. I feel confident in my ability. So we've got, the majority feeling, kind of the average feeling confident, not feeling confident in their ability. So we haven't done a good job in actually promoting people to, to feel that way. The culture in my school supports the development of students' social emotional skills. And then taking care of my students' social and emotional needs comes naturally to me. And I'm comfortable providing instruction on social emotional skills to my students. Any questions about this graph? Okay. So here's, oh, go ahead. Yeah, Antonio.
No, I was curious to see the connection between I feel confident in my ability to provide instruction on social and emotional and learning, and then taking care of my students' social and emotional needs comes naturally to me. So just trying to compare these two different performance levels that do not match on the response of I don't feel comfortable, but at the same time, I know how to meet my students' needs. And then On the last one is, I am comfortable providing instruction. So I'm just trying to compare these results that is, very low on one aspect, but then on the two aspect, which is the results of my instruction. I don't know if I'm making sense of, the comparison here, but I don't see the connection here, because in one way the responses are saying, I don't feel comfortable or confident, but at the same time, I know how to take care of my students.
It's interesting to me too. And I'm wondering if it has something to do with like specifically based on SEL curriculum versus kind of the innate ability of people who work in education to take care of students, right? And to take care of their needs, that we feel, like somebody wanting to become a therapist or something, that they feel confident that they can take care of people, but they don't know DBT, right? So I haven't been trained in dialectical behavioral therapy, so I don't feel confident in my ability to do that, but I feel like I can meet my client's needs.
I'm curious though, I'm thinking about what Antonio just said. I'm curious about that. I feel confident in my ability to provide instruction on social emotional learning, whether that's more about conflict resolution within classroom and being able to manage those conflicts with students versus I see a need and I can address an individual student for, let's say, academic or perhaps emotional, where it's just teacher-student versus student-to-student and student-to-community. So I just wonder if number 2 is more about the community piece and maybe even like restorative justice practices within class.
It's a really good point. And so this is something that we can follow up with, like in the next survey that we send out mid-year next year, or mid-semester next semester, to see if this is shifted, right? And that we can maybe even add ones that are more specific to, what's going on in the classroom and their ability or their confidence level versus kind of the overall arching. And I know that, when we first created this, the SEL was a newer buzzword because this was created over the summer, and now SEL is like the word of the day. And so, it might be understanding what are you exactly talking about when you talk about SEL, because it's a fairly large box, to the point where everybody in this organization at SMCOE is working on SEL right now, regardless of whether or not that's what they normally worked on. That it's just kind of, it's becoming part of everybody's culture and everybody's goals and deliverables. So here's the commitment question. And noticing like extremely committed in promoting social emotional skills in their students and implementing the approaches in your classroom. So for me, this feels like a lot of what we keep talking about as our roadblocks to implementing SEL in the classroom. To me, this shows that those that are doing the implementation do feel like they can do it, that they have a level of commitment to do so, at least. And then when we look at effectiveness, we have social emotional learning approach in this school is effective developing students' coping skills. So again, a large percentage of this ambivalence here in all of these questions as far as effectiveness. And so I think this goes to really needing to look at SEL curriculum and be very intentional in which SEL curriculum you choose, and that it's not another initiative, right? So with the concept of initiative fatigue and rolling something out that, is the new hot button, as opposed to being really intentional and building a systems framework around rolling it out and around implementation and having it reach, I love that the different levels of people that are here. So having it reach not only the students, but doing adult SEL as well to take care of the people that work for you, making sure that we're connecting to our families. Do families even know what SEL curriculum is? My kids are in a district where they're doing SEL curriculum and I'm getting things sent home to me to look at. But if I was not the person that actually helped purchase that SEL curriculum through this grant, I don't know if I would know what I know, right? So as a parent, as educators, are we helping parents understand exactly what SEL curriculum is, and how they can support the efforts at home by reiterating what's being taught in lessons at school and helping support that. And here's the huge question, right? The capacity. And that's a lot. And I can send this out. I'm not even going to look at that, but it's a lot. But the motivation, it seems like there is a strong motivation to do this. So it is a good time that they're committed. They want to be accountable. They want to improve their ability. And that leaders are making student mental health a priority. So we can do more on this data later and really do a deeper dive. That is one of the 4 or 5, I think, critical I think that's 4 different sections that we're going to go over, but I do want to get back to PowerPoint. So the SEL roadmap was something that we went over last time, and knowing that each, in the SEL roadmap, we have critical practices that are going to kind of drive the work that we do in each of the sections that we are going to talk about, or that we're going to brainstorm and work with each other and get some ideas from. So we'll make sure that in each of our sections, in each practice is made up of activities and essential questions, and that we look at how do we prepare and implement this, and then what tools do we have to continue to do that, and then to sustain the viability of carrying on SEL curriculum post pandemic, right? So after this year loses all its steam of wanting to support this, how do we continue to support this so we don't get so far down again that it makes for a harder get back up? The SEL critical practices, I want to go over each of them. The numbers are off a little bit, but I want to go over each of them, and then we're going to stick with one today. And then next time we meet, we'll go over the next one. So one of them is take time to cultivate and deepen relationships, to build partnerships, and to plan for SEL, rather than just having somebody purchase it and dump it on you. We also want to design opportunities where adults can connect, heal, and build their capacity to support students. We've been doing that a little bit already, and I can tell you that the meetings I've had where I haven't, it wasn't even me, it was Michelle Holt, who has really come in and just focused on our caregivers, you guys, are you okay? And can we help you be okay? And if you're not okay, can we provide space for you to not be okay? Have been some of the most impactful meetings that I've been in, and getting responses from people via email that they really enjoyed that opportunity, because they don't get that, especially now with not having in-person meetings and such. It's really difficult. And then we want to use data, which we have the data a little bit, as an opportunity to share power, deepen the relationships, and continuously improve for our students, our families, and our staff. And then create that safe and supportive and equitable learning environment that promotes all students' social and emotional development. And that's where we're doing a lot of the, we want to make sure we're doing a lot of the cross systems work. So it's not just one person looking at SEL, but everybody has their lens, so we can make sure that it's equitable for all students. All right, so critical practice number 1 is that you want to take time to cultivate and deepen the relationships and build the partnerships. And so that means really kind of deepening the relationships with those people that are going to be providing the SEL, those people that are going to be supporting those that provide the SEL, and making sure that we connect with each other so we feel safe, because if we're asking our students to do any type of SEL, we're asking them to feel safe. We're trying to provide an area or a feeling of safety in that room for them. And then we're asking them to be vulnerable and actually talk about what's going on. And if we can do that ourselves as adults, we can't expect the students to do it. So we want to make sure that we can cultivate and deepen our relationships. So we have some activities, some sample activities to, one, deepen those relationships, and then two, to build partnerships with parents. And we're going to do a breakout room. What time is it right now? We'll do maybe a 10-minute breakout room where you go through this. And this is the sample activity. What's the best way to get this to the breakout room, Shalane, so they can have it?
I can drop the PowerPoint into the chat. I downloaded it.
I'm going to stop sharing so we can see everybody go into breakout rooms and you can prepare them. Like I said, we'll have about 10 minutes. We have the put a finger down challenge, and then we have motivation identification, which is a sample partnership building activity. So each of you, one of you is going to have to take over the facilitatorship. So depending on which room you land into, if one of you wants to step up and be a leader, that would be awesome. All right, the PowerPoint is in the chat. So grab that so you have it with you when you go.
Okay, and is 3 or 4 people okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, for 10 minutes. Opening rooms now. You should have received an invitation to go to a breakout room. Might be behind your Zoom window.
Not that I really gave you any other choice.
It's because I wore a Dodger shirt last time.
It is. Sorry for your loss.
And I know you're not, but that's okay. Thank you.
I was really looking forward to watching you guys get creamed in the World Series. You know, that's not going to happen. So it's okay. You can keep your asterisk year last year. Hi, welcome back. Evan and I are bantering about baseball. How'd that go? It's hard to get like thrown in. I mean, that's what we're asking teachers to do, right? It's like, hi, here's some SEL, do it. So that's what we just did to you. Thank you for my volunteered facilitators. Appreciate that. Did you guys get to do the motivation piece, or was it just the finger? Okay, I didn't think so. So we can do the motivation together. So with the motivation kind of partnership building, this is a really great one to use with parents to try to help parents understand what's going to help motivate their student, their own child. And then to be able to get the student voice of what that's going to do. So, you know, being able to, one, describe what motivation does first, or what motivation is first, which is, you know, according to the dictionary, it's the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving a certain way. And so if we want students to behave a certain way, how do we do that? And here's how. Well, it's not the end all be all, or else I'd be really wealthy. But here's a way to help navigate some of those conversations around what motivates you. So, you know, having the facilitator, like say this is a parent ed night or a parent night, briefly describing what motivation is and how it can impact performance. And you all know that like if a student is more motivated to complete a task, that the task gets completed faster, they can be more able to learn more effectively, they are happier in general when they're more motivated. And so how do we find what motivates our students, and how do we help parents find what motivates their own child? So if you could ask, you ask a parent some or all of the questions, as if they were their child, right? So you're going to help them go through the process, and then they're going to turn around and go through the same process with their own child at home to really help build in the SEL at home without any true curriculum. So anybody willing to be my parent? You can unmute if you want.
I can
I'll
help out.
volunteer. Oh,
There you go.
Wait, somebody else. Oh, now you're both silent. That's not fair.
If you need more volunteers, I'm happy to help.
All right, I'm gonna pick Julie. Thanks, Julie.
Sure.
Now that you're back. All right. So, Julie, what motivates you?
To help my kids have the best life ever.
Okay. Now, when you get praise, what kind of praise makes you feel more encouraged to do something or motivates you more?
I'm doing this as a parent, right?
Or as yourself? I mean, I could
Okay.
just. I could
I'm
just
acting
coach
right
you.
now. I'm acting as a parent. Okay.
Act as a
It's
parent.
more fun.
And
Okay.
see,
So,
go.
okay. So the praise that I really love is when my kids show me true appreciation for all the effort I put into their daily lives.
What kind of power motivates you?
To
When you think of
control
the
their
power,
lives.
to be able to control their lives.
Well, to keep them safe. That kind of power motivates me to keep my children safe.
Great. And then how are you motivated by other people?
Oh, when someone's inspiring, when they've had, a track record of success with their kids that I see as success, they're involved in really wonderful things in life and they're kind and they are good people. That really inspires me about other people.
Okay. And how are you motivated by prizes?
Oh, I haven't won a prize in a really long time, but I would be motivated by like a new car as a prize, a new electric car.
Okay. And then how are you motivated by prestige?
That would be that, my kids got into awesome colleges when they're that age, and that I really supported them all the way in order to reach those wonderful goals, and they're proud and I'm proud.
Okay, so from what you're telling me, it really sounds like you are motivated by having a life that is lived to its fullest, the best life ever, but in a really safe way that is centered around kindness, and that you'll know when you get there when something good happens, and that's how you'll understand that you were successful in where you wanted to go. And that if those things happen, maybe we could talk about you being able to get this is a little bit intense, but it is San Mateo, an electric car as your prize for doing what we wanted you to do. How would that work for you?
That sounds great. I feel like you've known me for a really long time.
Well, I have, but yes. So again, and I'm going to stop sharing it really quickly. I think we can sometimes overestimate how in tune parents could be with what's happening with their children, especially right now, right? They finally got rid of them out of their house. I'll speak for myself, right? And that now they don't know what to do because they're out of the house and things are kind of back to normal, but there's still this dependency on them because the pandemic's still wavering. And how do you foster the motivation that you often can see in schools that work for kids but aren't working at home, to get homework done, to follow the rules at home, or even to do well in school for what the parents want them to do, right? For the parents wanting them to connect at school or to behave at school, and that not happening. So how do you help parents build a platform to be able to talk to their own child about what's going on and how to motivate them? So again, I mean, this is obviously what Julie said is not going to be the words out of a child's mouth, probably. Although electric car, my Logan wants an electric car, so that would probably be what he would ask for. But he won't get it, but that's okay. So, but naming that there is a prize, right? We know that students are motivated by prizes, but also you notice that a lot of the prizes were around what other people do to help motivate her. So they're not tangible like gifts or things. They're feelings and they're ideas of what success means. So pulling on that emotional motivation or that emotional prize rather than just the solid, if you go to school and don't get in a fight for a week, you get an electric car prize. Any questions about that? What do people think about the finger up, finger down as far as like a quick classroom activity that like would help students see that other students are like them? Were there any like, oh, you're this way too? Like any mind-blowing epiphanies in the room?
There aren't that many left-handed people in the world.
They aren't, but they are the best.
I know. That was one of the thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm counting 3 right now from the reactions for left-handers in the room. So see, there are a lot actually, out of 13. There we go.
Molly, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I actually have a question about the motivation piece. How did you come up with what you reflected back to me? Because it was that just intrinsically from you, or am I missing something?
So I wrote it down on a piece of paper, which helped, which is taught in therapy school. But it is also intrinsic, just being a therapist and reflective listening. But you said to help my kids have, and the best life ever was like you used, your voice changed when you said best life ever. You said control their lives, but then you focused on safety and like wanting them to be safe, right? So keeping them alive.
Okay.
And then when you were talking about others, you used like, they know how to do things or how to have a good life and they are kind. And so,
okay.
I just picked that, the kind of the tail end of what you were saying, but the buzzwords that would make up a good reframe.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back to the put a finger down challenge. I taught elementary, so I always think like, okay, what do I need to teach my kids, right? How to count down with your fingers so we do not offend. So just to let you all think about that one, right? So that one. And second of all, I think this is a great, what was helpful in our group was that there were some examples already in the PowerPoint, so we dropped those down. But as an extension of that, to do this activity again after students have been able to brainstorm some questions that they would ask of each other, and then to try it again. And I think in particular, bringing back these types of games when we're noticing that the synergy of the community is not engaging. And so to bring these back and to like keep messaging to teachers, because what I have seen in my work with teachers and PD is that SEL tends to be left as the beginning of the year activities. We've created community. Now, why aren't we getting along? What's happening? But it's like, well, we need to re-engage as a community without academics being the stressor. So low anxiety activities and just keeping to message. If you're noticing conflict, we need to go back and get to know each other again.
One of the things that I've been working on for our district is restorative justice. So I was saying that this just seems like a good activity that you could do as a safe activity, community building in circles. When I've met with teachers, they've talked about, having things that don't just like spiral into very heavy topics, or just having more of these lighthearted community activities. So I think even the motivation piece would be something you could do in a community building circle, and then also this fingers down activity. I like them.
Awesome. And did you guys, Gracie, did you guys think of other ones? You said that you noticed the notes.
Yes, but it's like since I was voluntold to be facilitator, I was having some difficulty, Molly, having some difficulty thinking of on the spot. So again, like thinking about English learners too, if we were to extend this activity, being able to brainstorm a list ahead of time, then it takes away that awkwardness and then also those stressors as well. So it was very helpful to have those initial in the PowerPoint to support the activity.
Cool. Thank you. And thank you for playing along while I voluntold you. And Evan. And thank you, Antonio, for just doing it. I didn't even have to tell you.
Yeah, I wanted to say just that I also see it as a proactive approach to challenges, or I always call it challenges to issues. But when the parents complain, let's say and the parents' complaints that I receive, use some of those ideas about how to turn it around in a problem-solving kind of a situation, so the parents can feel heard, but at the same time end up with a understanding that the issue was not presented in a way that it was not taken care of. It was taken care of, but giving them the opportunity to talk it out and express it will alleviate whatever feeling they may continue to have after whatever issue happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to me coming from a psychological background, non-school background, and that a lot of what we're asking teachers to do is like 5-minute therapy. And we're not like 5-minute psychodynamic therapy where we're asking about like, what is your childhood trauma, but more around like CBT therapy of like, what motivates you and what can you do to change the way you think so you can behave in a way that's pro-social. Like, boom, boom, like within 5 minutes, which is a lot to ask teachers, but the outcome can be huge, right? So in the slide deck, you'll notice that there's a bunch of different links. So we put some different links to activities that you can research on your own, just because I knew we wouldn't be really able to get to this, but classroom icebreakers, SEL activities from pre-K to high school, and then virtual SEL activities, building relationships with parents via SEL. And so if you click on them, you go to Panorama, you get sent there, and it's an article with downloadable resource packs on how to engage parents and talk about SEL and engage parents in the SEL. So that's
Molly, which one was this again? The one that you just showed us, which link is it in the PowerPoint?
Let me go back. This is the building relationships with parents via SEL. That was
Awesome.
Panorama.
Right. Thanks.
Some powerful SEL activities. So Edutopia, that's Summit Prep, hey, local. And all of them have links. So you
Is there a
can-
way to, I don't have PowerPoint, like I can't open it. Is there a way to put it into Google Slides as well? Or does anyone have any suggestions? I'm not very techy.
Shalane?
After you download the PowerPoint presentation, just drag it over from your downloads folder or whatever folder, wherever you download the presentation, to the Google Drive, and just request to open it as Google Docs. So download it, drag it over the file to the Google Drive, and then open it as a Google Docs.
Yeah, it's not even letting me download it. That's the problem. It's saying I don't have the application to download it.
Oh, okay.
So
Then I don't know.
I don't want to take up any more time, but thank you for trying, Antonio. That's very kind of you.
I can send it to you, Julie,
Thank you.
in some way, shape or form. We'll figure it out.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
get it to you. All right. One last screen share. So how to build SEL into secondary schedules, right? This is a huge topic of conversation right now. If you don't have a homeroom or an advisory period, or you're not with the same teacher all day, how do you actually do SEL? And then, so here's a great way to kind of, a great link to send or to use to build it. If the link opens, there we go. And talking about how to integrate it into regular content, or how to even build it into a full day planning. And then creating specific periods, creating advisory periods. And then the next document goes over the collaboration tools for building it into every day. And you can download that. So where, you don't need to pick a teacher to do it. You could pick, every teacher could pick a part of their day or part of their class to do the SEL. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing, see if there's any questions before we do our optimistic closure. And then we have a couple announcements for you after that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a program for SEL that's actually embedded in just regular subject matter? So English, word problems in math, science experiments, like making it just more part of the normal day rather than, okay, now on Thursdays at 2:15, everyone go to advisory and do your SEL. Does that exist?
So I don't know if there's an actual curriculum that has that, content. I've seen books, a lot of books that are coming out that are more educational based books, like storybooks for the younger population. I know the book that Shalane Peterson is writing right now has that in it, where you've got the combination of making sure that you're hitting the Common Core standards, but also the CASEL core competencies at the same time. And she's done a great job at that. And so when you're talking, next year, when you're teaching about lockdown barricade, yes, that will be the answer to that question. But as of the other, I think it's, maybe training adults on what SEL is and how to change their way. It's like the new, right, trauma-informed systems. We can train you on trauma-informed systems, but you have to start thinking about everything through a trauma-informed lens for it to really be impactful. So if we're training everybody on what SEL is, then think about SEL from a perspective of a math teacher, and think about how you can, turn a word problem into something where you're also asking a relationship building question from that. It's similar to what they're doing at like, or what we're talking about doing in concern of the FAIR Act and embedding like LGBTQ curriculum or disability curriculum into science and math, where you might not necessarily be able to read about history or to learn about history or to read an actual book that's, you know, about an LGBTQ character. But, you know, Molly's two dads are traveling at a rate of speed on a train at 55 miles per hour. Like, you know, one's in a wheelchair, and like just embedding it so there's representation throughout. That's like SEL 2.0 though, and so I think we're at SEL 1.0. But I will look, because I think you make a really great point of just how can we shift for those that are ready to shift, right, from knowing what SEL is to really just kind of embedding it in who they are, and how they teach. It would be a great tool. Sarah.
Yeah, Julie, I love that question, because I also think that embedding SEL practices, like whether it's short community building practices or individual check-ins or feedback on the relationships and how people are experiencing safety in the community, like so building those kinds of check-ins in all of the classes, because when teachers build, I've heard here at Hillsdale, like teachers talk about, you know, my advisory might have this sense of safety and I can see it in how kids are engaged, but like my math class doesn't. And I would be like, okay, well, are you doing those practices in your math class? No. Like they don't necessarily transition over. Every group has its own culture. And so even if you have like groups of the same kids, the culture of the class is going to be like pretty independent based on like a bunch of dynamics. So I think like that idea of just like building in, like they seem really easy, but if like it's built in like coming back from a break or like a Monday, or like just taking some time out of the content to kind of recalibrate, like as a community, like my sense is that that can really help sort of the sense of like ownership around the culture of any kind of class, especially a content class that can have higher demand, higher insecurities, like all of these things that have kids comparing themselves to others and all of these things where they potentially feel triggered and less emotionally safe with the same kids. So I think some of the techniques or the ways in are sort of the same, just remembering, like having teachers kind of prioritizing them on a regular basis.
Thank you, Sarah. Gracie?
Yeah, so to piggyback off of that, Sarah, just thinking about group work. So we often talk about like, we're gonna have more meaningful engagement, we're gonna have group work in math, we're gonna have group work in science, but there's also about the level of respective interaction within group work and the routines and rituals and how kids communicate with one another. And then that whole check-in of like, how was your group today? Getting those student empathy interviews as part of the daily as well as the check-in of saying, how did that work? What were some conflict? What was a best practice, and being able to build off of the opportunity of having group work, but also building in some of transitional time. So there's a lot of transition during classroom during the school day. So during that transitional time, what's like those 30-second game that you could do to build community before you start into your activity. So just like two quick ways to like incorporate within the instructional time. But it's like what Sarah said, like really thinking about when are the pieces of that lesson that they can be built into and be considered for engagement with students.
Thank you. All right. Quick optimistic closure while you also fill out the survey and sign in if you haven't already. Share one thing you can do today to build partnerships with your families. So really concentrating on building those partnerships with your families. And then as you do that, I'm going to the last slide so you can also look at that and note that those items are going to be dropped into the chat so you can have access to them. All right, those items have been dropped into the chat. Ooh, I love every week, every Monday evening. That's awesome, Heidi. I'm interested. Will you share at the collab how that's going?
Yes, we'll do.
Thank you. All right, it is 3:30. I want to respect everybody's time since we have a tendency to back up Zoom meetings, and most of you probably have one that starts right now. So thank you. See you guys next month. Antonio, if you want to, can you stay on, or do you have a 3:30, Antonio?
No, I can say.
Okay, I would love to just run something by you real quick.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks. Thank you for volunteering.
Thank you. You're welcome.